the energy available. That's not something that we think about. If you don't have the energy, it doesn't matter how much time you have. You have a capacity and you've got to calculate that with your tasks.
The energy is, you got to get over the hump and then it's downhill. If I can get to the office or get to the project, open it up and get started, I'm rejuvenated. If I'm working at it for an hour and I don't have my energy back, I'm out of here.
If you've got really good energy and allocate it to the right things, you're going to be much more successful.
Expert advice, practical tips, real life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cashflow Contractor.
I don't know when this is going live, probably well after, but earlier this week, we had the Game 7 in Oklahoma City. What a big moment for Oklahoma. Yeah. I don't think you could pay $10 billion to get the PR that Oklahoma's getting this year. I mean, what they're going to get as defending champions over the next NBA season. Did you read that article about United Airlines in 1991? You were probably here and you probably remember it. But United Airlines was planning to build a $1.1 billion facility in 1991, which I don't even know what is in today's dollars, but it's not $1 billion. And they were going to do all of their repairs out of there. It was going to be the next hub for them. And Oklahoma City was on the short list. And it came down to Oklahoma City and Indianapolis for where they were going to choose. And they chose Indianapolis. And that's actually how the MAPS project started. In
Oklahoma City,
which is basically big projects to renovate the downtown and enrich it and all that kind of stuff, because United said they couldn't force their employees to move to a city like Oklahoma City. And so the mayor, is it Ron Norick?
Norick at that time? Yeah, he was.
Yeah, Ron Norick went and visited Indianapolis and he said, they've got a vibrant downtown and we've got to enrich our city. And so that's when they started doing all the MAPS projects. And and
you're saying MAP, M-A-P, Metro Area Projects, which was a penny sales tax. It was quite controversial, but it has transformed Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City looks entirely different just than like 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Scissortail Park and the new convention center and all that stuff. So, and now we've got a new stadium coming in for the Thunder. So very interesting, but big deal for our city. Really cool to see. Great games. It's funny that it was Indianapolis and Oklahoma City in the finals in 1991. I didn't remember that.
Yeah. So, showed those turkeys. They can have American.
So, but recently, Martin, you've been going through some revamps to your email. I'll post a link to the Twitter video that I've posted about GTD email, or getting things done email. If you're in a Gmail or Google Workspace account, it'll make sense to you. But how is that going for you? Is it just killing you?
It's going well. Yeah, it just takes my inbox. Yenny, my assistant, takes my inbox and scatters it among activities, read later, unsubscribe. Is there another one? That's the only ones I look. Anyway, I get an empty email box. It's been a little unsettling, not bad, but a little that I don't want to miss stuff. And actually,
that has less to do with the framework and where to do that. You have an assistant that's managing your email.
And she did
framework. The framework, it will allow you to see everything and catch everything. It's just that someone else is also running it for you. So okay, so today we're talking about how to get things done. This is the phrase that you would have used, getting things done, before you knew about the book, Getting Things Done by David Allen, which is a little bit different. But we're going to go through what he talks about in chapter 9 of that book, which is basically just making the best action choices, how to choose what to work on and how to actually get things done. But you had a good point of like, people leave your office and they know exactly what they need to do, but are they actually going to do it?
Setting the stage for it. Nothing happens until something happens, right? I mean, thinking about stuff doesn't matter. Although Warren Buffett did say, it's not great effort that creates wealth, it's great thinking. Say, it's both, right? But something has to get done. And In my coaching sessions, particularly a couple of times this week, but almost universally, we talk about a lot of things in the 4 areas of business. Yeah, perhaps problems clients having that day, that week, some crisis or some great benefit. But anyway, we talk about a lot of things. And it's very easy to overwhelm that, okay, we should do, that'd be great. Let's do that. Let's do this. And those all are great ideas. I want to record them and capture them. But we have to reduce everything that we talk about down to the one thing that you're actually going to do. And the way I historically do it is I cycle through the 4 areas of business, and we look for something that we think if we stop doing it, start doing it, or change how we're doing it, take action in that area, will have the greatest impact on our business. And that, of course, depends on the client and what their issues are. But once we do that, then we have to define the steps to get that done. And then they have to do them. And that refers to what you said. When they walk out the door, I want them to not be confused or overwhelmed with all the great ideas we have, but they need to know, I have to do that. And a common phrase that I hear when I say about it, especially if they didn't do it, the next meeting is, well, I'm so busy, I can't not do it. And my retort, I guess I'll call it a retort, my response to that is, wham, 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 right? I don't really do that, but everybody's busy. It cannot change until you carve out and start making changes. The first one is extra time, because you got to do everything you do and got to do extra to get things done. Then it's as you go along and finish, you get 2 things changed, 3 things changed, 5 things changed. Finally, it begins to reflect in your workload, and you're starting to see the benefit of it. But making sure people actually do something is really more important than anything else, because all the rest of it's just some people sitting around talking. And I understand that getting things done has a context, or not a context, but a process for deciding what to do. And
well, there's a lot of processes and models, is what David Allen would call them from his book, that are in there. But there's one specific for like choosing what to work on in the moment. So like someone canceled a meeting on you and you're sitting down at your desk or whatever, wherever you are, how do you choose what to work on in that moment is essentially what we're going to be looking at, so that you can get things done. I think that's a lot of times people do have time, but they're not clear on what they should be working on during that time. And that's what causes them to not get as many things done. So the first thing that he talks about is context, right? And this is going to help you, again, decide what to do right now. You're sitting at your desk, meeting was just canceled, you've got an hour. What should I do right now? So the context essentially says, well, where are you? What are you capable of doing in this context, right? Given the space that you're in, the tools that you have at your disposal. Like if you need to be reviewing your financial statements and you don't have them printed out and you don't have a computer and you're sitting at the doctor's office and your phone, you don't have cell service, then you can't review the financial statements that easily, right? You had a really good context for doing something that I thought was hilarious about the ranch.
Yeah, no, I did. I had a client who had a really good opportunity to buy a ranch, supposedly worth about $1.5 million. And his family friend, getting old, offered to sell to him for $1 million. And the only problem was, he literally didn't have 10,000. But it's such a good deal, I can't pass it up. I say, well, yeah, you can, because you can't do it. So
that's didn't have the context for it. He didn't have the tools at his disposal to do that action.
Namely, the down payment.
Right. But I think people noted this one naturally. Like so many contractors out there have windshield time driving between jobs or to the shop or whatever it is. Maybe sometimes it's a couple hour drive. They know that, that's the time that I could listen to the podcast, or that's the time that I could call such and such, right? That's the context that you're given, and that's when you can take action on those things, right? And if you know that, you may be thinking, okay, I'm in the office, I could call so-and-so, but I've got that drive later and I'm going to have that context then. So that's when I'll call them,
Right.
And I'll talk on the phone while I'm driving. So context is the first one. Then the next one he talks about is time available, which makes sense. If this is a 5-hour task and I only have 1 hour, then I shouldn't be doing it right now, right? How much time do you have available before your next commitment? You don't start the 2-hour project if you only have 20 minutes.
Right.
I think this is where I run into a lot of trouble, is because I underestimate how long something will take. And I'm like, oh, well, we can do that today. And then it doesn't get done, right? What do you know about time available with your clients?
It's a major problem, and we try to chunk things into bits that can be done in like an hour. I mean, that's a good unit. And then they have to force themselves to make the time typically. And it's always, if a customer walks in, they've got priority over my time, don't they? Well, had a client in yesterday that had a lot of things not done that could have been done because of just merciless demands on his time. And that's really why this is top of mind, because until he gets control of not letting other people come in and ask questions and say, thought you ought to see this, and what should we do? Or have a customer sitting in the foyer when you walk in the morning who sits in the foyer many times, right? Mm-hmm. So my response is, okay, I get it. You still have to do all those things. I mean, there's some things you can quit, but you have to sit down, take an hour and get started. Do an hour's worth of work.
Yeah.
Get it done, and then do an hour's worth of work. So time blocking, where you just commit that, you tell people I'm out. You can go to the doctor and people can, and your business doesn't fail.
Yeah.
Be gone for an hour.
Yeah, that's good. Quick ad break to tell you a little bit about OpenPhone. If you're a contractor that has a single cell phone, you're probably inundated with text messages and phone calls, oftentimes that you can't be responsive to or that you can't answer at all. So what's the solution? You can buy another office line with Verizon or AT&T, and you can have an iPhone that is passed around from employee to employee, depending on who's on call. But what if there's a better way? What if there's a way that you can have all your phone calls recorded to go back and listen to later, transcribed with summaries so that you can get a quick glance at what happened during the phone call, and even connect it to your CRM where all your other customer information is? OpenPhone is the perfect solution because it does just that. You're able to add all the users you need to for whoever needs to have access to the lines for your company phone. And then you can also find all of the information you need at a glance with a centralized location for all phone calls and text messages with your customers. Whether it's for marketing, for sales, or for service, OpenPhone is the perfect solution for you and your team. If you're interested, we have an offer down the show notes from OpenPhone. Please click the link down the show notes, or you can see it here on your screen to be able to find more information about OpenPhone. Thanks for listening. Back to the episode. So we've covered context, we've covered time available. I think this is the most important one, in my opinion, more than any of the others, is the energy available. And that's not something that we think about, it's maybe not something that we plan for as much as we do actually think about and weigh in our head of how much energy am I actually going to have. And if you don't have the energy, it doesn't matter how much time you have, right? You have a capacity, and you've got to calculate that with your tasks. If there's an action that you need to take, what is the energy that you'd have to give to that for it to be successful, right? If bidding and estimating is high energy for you, where you've got to think strategically and you don't want to make mistakes because that could cost you a lot of money or cost you the job, that's a high energy task. And if you're trying to do estimates in the 10 minutes between meetings that you've got throughout the day, that's just not a good choice. Those 10 minutes are not going to be high energy. You're getting off of a meeting. You're not going to be focused. You're not going to have the dedicated mental capacity to bidding that job. So I think you've got to weigh the energy that tasks require. And I think that a lot of times we think about time management. I think energy management usually will beat time management. If you've got really good energy and you can manage it well and allocate it to the right things, then you're going to be much more successful.
Yeah. And me, and I know I'm not the only one, is when I need the energy is to get started. And if I'm doing something else or at home and writing, let's say, the energy is like you got to get over the hump and then it's downhill. If I can get to the office or get to the project, open it up and get started, I'm rejuvenated most often.
Oh, yeah.
And I know there are a lot of people that way. I know there are people who are not that way, but that's where energy comes in for me. If I'm working at it for an hour and I don't have my energy back, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I got to go recharge somewhere.
I think knowing, sometimes it's also about knowing like where your energy gets restored and what also really depletes it. That's not necessarily work. For example, like if I go and I have a carb loaded lunch, I'm done in the afternoon. It doesn't matter how much coffee I drink. It doesn't matter who you put me with. I am done. Right. And that's why a lot of times I skip lunch. It's because I just feel better throughout the day. Right. And then I think in the same vein, I'm extroverted. I get a lot of energy from being with people. And this is a perfect example. Like if I'm really struggling to get started on something, like a big project that's important and it's high energy, I might call a friend and say, hey, I want to talk to you about this idea I've got or this project I'm working on. Do you have 10 minutes? And me just talking with someone about it will give me the energy about that thing to like start going. But it's the aspect of me doing it alone and having to really muster this all up to get it started that is really difficult. It may even be me asking someone on my team, hey, will you come in here really quick or jump on a Google Meet and let's work on this together for just a few minutes and then I'll get going. It's knowing what gives you the energy that you need to be able to do something.
Yeah, I'm 100% the same way. I can look at it. I generally love what I do. I love doing what I do. I can look at a day and see it full of appointments and I'm tired in the morning and get out of the gym and didn't get enough sleep or whatever. But I know that once I make contact with a person, I'm on. I mean,
you're on. Yeah.
And I don't mean putting on a show or I'm just got my energy back. And time just goes boom.
Flows,
That's the one way you can really tell you're in flow when you lose track of time. And that happens all the time. But I got to get there.
Yeah. I think what's important also is once you have that energy, the momentum is real. Like if you need to be able to group some of the things that require energy. You need to schedule them out to where it's not like you're going to be, hey, I'm 8 hours today of just high energy. Like that's not very possible. Right. But in the same vein, maybe this is only a 30-minute task and it's high energy. Well, I can be high energy for maybe an hour and a half. So maybe if I have 3 of those tasks, let's get those together. Right. Let me do my bids all at once rather than doing, okay, I'll do one this morning and I'll do one right after lunch and I'll do one at the end of the day. It's hard to shift from high energy to low energy, high energy to low energy, high energy to low energy just constantly, right? So if you can dedicate more time and stack those things together, let's get in that single context and work through those high energy things all at once, if it's within reason, right? Not 8 hours straight.
Quick ad break to tell you about Growth Kits. This is actually my company and you may have seen it around, but I started Growth Kits because I kept seeing contractors struggle with the same problems over and over again. They were trying to be better organized inside of their business, but kept drowning in the day-to-day operations. So whether you need a better CRM, a hiring process that actually works, or you just want to make sense of the tech stack inside of your business, we have systems that are built specifically for contractors. You can either grab our DIY guides and implement these systems yourself, or you can hire us to work with you on it and implement it for you. No massive consulting fees, no year-long commitments or monthly retainers. Just pick what you need right now and let's get it done together. Head over to growth-kits.com to see how we can help you construct your success one system at a time. That's growth-kits.com or just click the link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
Okay, so let's talk about the last one, which is the most important. And this is a very difficult one. No, it's not the most important. Energy is the most important, but it's a very important one, is priority. And I don't like the word priority. because a lot of times priorities are arbitrary. And at least they say, oh, this is a high priority. And then I maybe ask about another time, oh, this is really important too. This is a very high priority. It's like, well, okay, so what's a priority, what's not? And I think you have to have some sort of grading system of what's a priority for you and what's not, right?
Well, I like that.
How do you think about priority?
Well, there's a book called The One Thing. I think it's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. Really, really good. Easy read, fun to read. But he makes a point that I've never forgotten. The word priority is Latin and it means first. So you cannot have a bunch of priorities, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have a bunch of teams win the NBA championship this year. One.
Right.
So you have to choose a priority, which where we're getting to address the point that you're asking about. How do you do that? The old 80-20 rule. This is a method that you can use to sit down and prioritize things. There, I use the word, to determine your priorities. Use the 80-20, which says, of course, that 80% of your benefit comes from 20% of the things you do. 80% of your problems come from 20% of customers, for example. But it said write down 25 things that you consider you should do that are important. And you look through those and you select 20%, which is 5. So you X out the other 20 and you've got 5 left. And you look through those 5 things and you say, which one of those is, rank them 1 to 5. The number 1 is your that's your 80-20 again. 1 is 20% of 5. So that's a method, if you're really going, well, how am I supposed to decide? That's a method you can use. Write down the things you do, circle the most important ones, make your first 80% cut, and make your second 80% cut, and you're left with 1. And that's what I do with my clients. And the things that we look through are the 4 areas of business: guiding the business, marketing and sales, getting customers, operations, administration. And we try to determine where are the problems that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Where's our big problem? Is it that we're not getting sales, don't have leads, or we get leads, we don't close them? Is it an operational glitch? We can't deliver on time? Are we running out of cash, which is administrative? Do we have our insurance and all that in order? Do we have leadership? Do we have a good culture? Is my company about to collapse because we're running out of money? Or is it about to collapse because people who work here don't like each other? So you got to look through those things and set that 25 and set the 5 and then set the 1. That's how I do it, at least in theory. I bounce around a little too much. And that's the method that I use working with clients to get them to that one thing. And then that's the thing that they actually have to have done by the next time we meet.
And so you're always choosing one thing that is, I guess you're meeting weekly, or sometimes you meet longer, monthly or biweekly. So you always choose one thing that's capable of being accomplished within that time frame?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, yes. I think that's important. I think once you start choosing things that are just so ambitious that it's too much to bite off in a specific period of time that is, feasible and you can actually pay attention for, it's too much.
Yeah. Well, it's like if my advice were sell more and be a better leader, and your company will really bloom. See you next week, right?
You should do that sometime.
Oh, I've
April
done
Fools.
it.
Oh, you have?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, they always appreciate that. I want my money back.
So I think with priority, the way that I think about it is what's going to make the most impact. And I think this is important conversation to have with a lot of people on your team, because the reality is urgency does not equate to priority. And I think that's where people get things wrong a lot of time. They think about what is most urgent and they say, well, that's the highest priority thing. And if you haven't really talked to your team about this, they may be doing some of the tasks that are just urgent and forgetting about the important. And we've talked about the tyranny of the urgent before, but you have to think about what is going to be the most impactful. And sometimes the urgent thing is the most impactful. Client calls and there's, a broken water line in the middle of the project that you're working on, Yeah, that is a really impactful thing that you should go work on right now. You know, you don't need to have to redo a bunch of stuff because it floods. Right?
Hey, just in passing, because you're talking about urgency, read this a long time ago and think about it a lot, and I believe it's true. Urgency is always imposed from the outside. Now, sorry, just thought I'd mess up your train of thought.
No, that's good. And urgency is always imposed from the outside.
Yeah, it can be a person, like the customer who called, or it can be the water main broke, which is a fact. That's not human. But it's always from the outside. We don't impose urgency on ourselves except to meet some criteria from the outside. Now, I've thought about that a lot. I believe it's true, willing to entertain arguments and discussion, but it's interesting.
I would say 90%. I would say 90%. I think you're having a heart attack. That's technically from the inside. You know, like your urgency changes.
Yeah.
You're really thirsty or hungry, and you're like, man, I need to get some food.
That's see, I've been thinking about all these years, and you just shot me down. But
so those are some things. I think also an urgency, I would say everything besides those things, maybe health and body related, probably influenced by the outside. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But anyway, you were talking about deciding what's most urgent.
So I was just talking with my assistant the other day, and she had all these tasks, and there was one really important one, like one really impactful one, but it was a project. It wasn't a task. It was going to take some hours, right? And she said, well, because it's going to take so long, I want to get these things done with so that I can focus on that. And I was like, 2 of those things will take you 2 minutes, right? So just do it. These other 3 are like, I don't even think those are that important. Like I almost say, like, don't even do them, right? Like you need to, sometimes we think that not only are the urgent things the most important, but we think about some of these like larger projects that are really impactful. We put them off because they would take so long, right? When sometimes, like, what if you just broke that project into steps? Kind of like Martin, you meet with people, you're talking about they've got to lead their team. Well, that's like you could spend years working on getting really good at that. But what's one thing that you could do that would allow you to really lead your team well? Oh, I'm going to schedule a team meeting for us because we never meet as a team. Oh, well, you can do that before next week, right? That would be one of the most important things, the most impactful things that you could do, right? Yeah, you're not going to be able to, I've got to get my books together. Well, that could be a months long project. What about, hey, why don't we do a forecast for what cash you have coming in and coming out over the next week? You can do that before we meet, right? Just what's coming in, what's going out. And that would be very impactful. It would give you some clarity on your financial position for the next week or a couple weeks, whatever it is. So I think on the priority, I love the one thing, Gary Keller. I think at a baseline, just asking the question, what would be the most impactful, right? And then the urgent does play a role, right? Especially with like client-related matters or something that's really time-specific. Like, you've got to meet specifically with this person at this time. Like that does create urgency. That is important. But there's things that you're taking care of that you shouldn't be working on because it doesn't make sense. It's not the most impactful thing. So we've got this 4 criteria model. We've gone over context, time, energy, and priorities. When you marry all of these things together, right, and you view it through the lens and the filter of, I have all these things in front of me, that should dictate what you should work on. And it should allow you to get things done a lot more tangibly, a lot more efficiently. But if you're only looking through one of these lenses, you're probably going to miss something, right?
Well, I would like to add the thing where he uses priorities, IES, and change it to priority, singular, which is that one thing. So you run through the checklist, but when you've settled on that one thing, do it. because,
yes,
not 94% of the way. Do it. Get it implemented. Get the change. Put it behind you. And then in a month or 6 months or a year, you look back and you realize, I really have done a lot of things, and my life really is different than it was. And that's the only way things ever get done. You get whipsawed around to a bunch of random things that don't connect up to make a system or a process or anything else. But it's the only way it gets done.
Yeah.
It's something you can actually do.
To be fair, David Allen does say priority, not priorities. I've probably messed that one up. So you can.
Well, I said priorities straight, and you can have priorities, plural, a bunch of number ones in different areas of business, but you got to decide which number one is going to be the priority, and then do that.
Yeah. Well, I hope that people are able to get things done. If you're interested in more topics about getting things done, there's a whole slew of them. I think something that you can do with this is you're writing down your task list. If you were to do it in Excel, let's say, right, and you have your columns up top, you have your task name, put some columns in there. Put context, right, at computer, in office, phone call, email, whatever the context is of it, right? And then in the next column, put energy. Is this high energy or low energy? Just distinguish between those, high and low. And then the next column, put time. How long does this take? Estimate in minutes, right? And then put priority, like impact is another way to think of it. What's the impact of this? And you can create your own grading scale of that, whatever you want to do, right? And then now you can filter. I'm feeling low energy. Well, what are my low energy tasks? Okay, cool. I need to sit there and I need to type in, I need to run payroll. Okay, got to click through the buttons, whatever it is, right? So you have those low energy. And then I've got the afternoon clear. Let's jump into some high energy stuff. You can do that. Hey, I've only got 30 minutes. What tasks are less than 30 minutes on this list, right? That's one. Once you use all the filters together, it really allows you to get things done in a more succinct way. So, Martin, thanks for chatting.
Sir, thank you.
Okay, go get some things done.
You made it to the end of the episode, but before you go, if you found yourself thinking about growing your construction business while listening today, I want to share something with you. It's called our 24 Things to Hiring and Training the Perfect Executive Assistant for Your Construction Business. And it's a free guide that we've created. It's not theory. It's what we actually use to help contractors hire the perfect executive assistant. And really, we help you find ways to delegate over 50% of your current workload and get back 20 hours of your time every single week. You didn't start your construction business to just be doing admin work, to be buried in paperwork and endless admin tasks. This is the guide that shows you exactly how to find and train someone who can actually take all that weight off of your shoulders. So this is a real actionable, great PDF that has templates and processes. It's really, really great. And I want you to check it out, even just to get your feedback and how we can make it even more valuable. But I know that you're gonna love it. The link is in the show notes. Please download it. We'd love to see how much of an impact it makes on you and your business. Thanks for listening to the full episode. Check out the guide. It's free. No reason to hesitate. No reason to wait. Download it now. And before you go, I just want to ask for your gracious subscription to our podcast. So if you have 2 seconds, it means the world to us. Just subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or if you'd like our weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox whenever we release an episode, please subscribe in the show notes. Every week, we're talking about real strategies on how you can grow and build a profitable construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, and more money. Click subscribe wherever you listen to the show, and thank you again for checking out the Cashflow Contractor. See you on the next episode.